If you're putting Azure OpenAI into production, one of the first architectural decisions you'll face is how you pay for inference. There are two billing models, and picking the wrong one can either blow your budget or strangle your latency. The first is pay-as-you-go, sometimes called standard or consumption. The second is provisioned throughput units, PTU. In the next few minutes, I'll break down how each one charges you, where each one shines, the break-even math, the latency trade-offs, and a crisp rule for when to reach for which. Prices change constantly, so treat my numbers as illustrative and always confirm against the current Azure pricing page. Pay-as-you-go bills you per token. You are charged separately for input tokens, the prompt you send, and output tokens, the completion you get back, with output usually priced 2 to 4 times higher. There's no commitment and no base fee. Send one request a day or a million. You only pay for the tokens you actually process. That elasticity is the big appeal. The catch is that capacity is shared. Your throughput is governed by a tokens per minute quota on the deployment, and under heavy or bursty load, you can hit 429 throttling responses. Latency also varies with overall demand on the shared pool, so your P99 can drift in ways you don't control. With provisioned throughput units, you rent dedicated capacity. A PTU is a unit of reserved model processing power, and you buy them in blocks for a specific model and deployment. Instead of paying per token, you pay a flat hourly rate for the units, whether they're busy or idle. In exchange, you get a guaranteed throughput ceiling measured in tokens per minute, plus far more consistent, predictable latency because nobody else is sharing your slice. You can buy them monthly or yearly with reservations for a steep discount, or hourly for flexibility. The trade-off is obvious. You're paying for the capacity around the clock, so a half-empty deployment is wasted money. So when does renting beat metering? It comes down to utilization. A PTU deployment has a fixed monthly cost no matter what. Pay-as-you-go cost scales linearly with the tokens you push. There's a crossover point, a certain steady tokens per minute, where the two lines meet. Below it, pay-as-you-go is cheaper. Above it, PU wins, and the savings grow the busier you get. As a rough rule of thumb, PTU starts making financial sense once you have sustained high utilization for many hours a day, not spiky traffic. Microsoft publishes a capacity calculator in the Azure AI Foundry portal that estimates how many units your workload needs. Use it, because the exact crossover depends on the model and current rates. Cost isn't the only axis. If your application is user-facing, like a chat assistant or a co-pilot, predictable latency matters as much as the bill. On pay-as-you-go, your tail latency rides the shared infrastructure. And during regional demand spikes, you may see slower responses or throttling you can't plan around. PTU gives you a reserved lane, so your latency stays tight and your throughput is guaranteed up to your provision ceiling. A common production pattern is spillover. Send traffic to your PTU deployment first, and when you exceed its capacity, fall back to a pay-as-you-go deployment. You get predictable performance for the baseline and elasticity for the peaks. There are operational gotchas on both sides. Pay-as-you-go is effectively zero setup. You create a deployment, you get a tokens per minute quota, and you start calling the endpoint. PTU requires capacity planning. You have to size the units, and capacity for a given model and region isn't infinite, so you may need to reserve ahead. Reservations lock in a discount but also lock in a term, typically a month or a year, which reduces flexibility if your traffic pattern changes. The good news is the application code is identical. Same SDK, same endpoint shape, same request. The only thing that changes is which deployment you point at. Here's my rule of thumb. Start on pay-as-you-go for everything early. It's the right default for prototypes, internal tools, spiky workloads, and anything where you can't yet predict steady volume. Move to PTU when you have a production workload with high, sustained utilization, when you need guaranteed latency for a customer-facing experience, or when your monthly token bill on consumption has clearly crossed the break-even line. And don't treat it as either-or. The mature pattern is PTU for your predictable baseline plus pay-as-you-go for overflow. Measure your real traffic for a few weeks before committing to a reservation. To sum up, pay-as-you-go charges per token, scales to zero, and is your low-commitment default, but it rides shared capacity with variable latency and throttling. PTU rents dedicated capacity at a flat rate, giving guaranteed throughput and predictable latency, but it only pays off at high, sustained utilization. Your concrete next step: instrument your tokens per minute in production for 2 to 4 weeks. Then run those numbers through the capacity calculator in Azure AI Foundry. If you're comfortably above the crossover and need stable latency, move your baseline to PTU and keep pay-as-you-go for spillover. And because Azure OpenAI pricing and PTU minimums change often, always verify the current Azure docs before you commit. If this helped, do me a favor. Hit the like button, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one. See you in the next video.